All right, 40 days through the Bible, day 40. This was the book of James through the book of Revelation. And in 1 Peter in chapter 4, there's a passage where Peter is talking about suffering. And he says, "Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. But rejoice inasmuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed. If you are insulted because of the name of Christ, you are blessed, for the Spirit of glory and of God rests on you. If you suffer as a Christian, do not be ashamed, but praise God that you bear that name. So then, those who suffer according to God's will should commit themselves to their faithful Creator and continue to do good." And I know we talked about suffering a couple of days ago too, but what stuck out to me about this is just, it's so clear what we are supposed to do if we are suffering because we have been following God's will. Right? If we're suffering according to God's will, we are submitted, we are following, we are doing our best to allow him to lead us into things, and those things that he leads us into are suffering. How we are supposed to respond to that is to commit ourselves to our faithful Creator and continue to do good. And these are the two things that we all struggle with the most, because the first one is committing yourselves to the faithful Creator is less about the committing and more about the faithful Creator part, right? Because really what this is reminding yourself that he is faithful, because it won't feel like he's faithful when you're in the midst of suffering. The temptation when you have followed God and he has led you into suffering is to start to believe that he's not faithful and that he lied, that he did the impossible, right? That he lied. And that is by far the most difficult and the first thing that we will struggle with. And then after that, what we struggle with is the continuing to do good, right? Because again, we judge, we've talked about this so many times during this journey, but we judge from the outcomes. So we are obedient and we do what we feel God leading us to do, and then instead of success and the outcomes that we want, we get suffering and we get the opposite of the outcomes that we want. And when that happens, we get weary, we get hope fatigue, we get worn out, and then we choose to stop doing the good thing. And that's less about choosing to stop doing the very specific thing that God tells us to do, and it's more about choosing to stop doing the good thing of trusting that the Lord is faithful and allowing him to direct our steps, right? That's really what that continuing to do good is. It has less to do with the very specific actions and much more to do with the holding on to your foundation of believing God as a faithful Creator and believing that he cannot lie and that he will not deceive, and then allowing him to continue to direct your steps and your path. That is the good that you're supposed to continue on in doing. And so it is an unbelievably important thing, because all of us go through suffering, and what most of us are very ill prepared for is that in some ways, the more closely you follow Jesus and the more intently you follow Jesus, the harder the suffering that you go through gets, right? And it's just not something that people talk about a lot, and it's not something that a lot of us are prepared for when we fully commit and are like, I'm going all in and I'm going to go do this thing and I'm going after the identity that God has for me. And then we start to do that and then we just get wrecked. And if you aren't expecting to get wrecked, it is very, very easy to fall into remembering or believing that you don't have a faithful Creator, and then to just cease doing the good that you should do. So, yep, that's all I have for this one. And that's the end. If you made it all the way through, I'm proud of you. Leave a comment and let me know.